Margaret Brennan, thanks. For more now from Capitol Hill, we turn to Nancy Cortez. So, Nancy, at least 12 Republican senators have expressed some serious concerns about the current bill. Explain to us just what the major hangups are, and is it similar to what was happening in the House, where you had more conservative members saying that it wasn't a radical departure from the Affordable Care Act, and then you had other members saying, hey, we want to keep some of the stuff that was in Obamacare?
Yes, you do have that same general framework where conservatives feel that Obamacare should be ripped out by the roots, and they don't like the fact that this Senate bill, for example, maintains the tax credits, most of them, for people to help those people buy insurance. They also don't like the fact that there are a lot of regulations from Obamacare that stay in place. Conservatives argue that those regulations on what kinds of plans insurance companies can offer, the fact that they have to offer certain kinds of services, they say that drives up the cost of premiums, and they want to see some really low-cost basic plans on the individual exchanges. Then you've got moderates who have big problems with the Medicaid cuts in this bill. They argue that it's going to force the most vulnerable Americans off the rolls of Medicaid, and they feel that it's a cost that their own states simply can't afford. There are other concerns, though, beyond that. Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins, for example, two moderate Republicans, also have a big problem with the fact that this bill eliminates funding for Planned Parenthood. They want to see that restored. And ordinarily, Republican leaders could say, well, that's just two senators. Sorry, you're not going to get what you want. But in this case, they can only afford to lose two senators. So even, one or two or three senators who have a problem with the bill, those concerns are going to have to be addressed if Republican leaders want to cobble together some kind of compromise.
So the bill is sort of on hold, at least until after the 4th of July recess. Do you think we could see amendments to the bill in order to make some of these holdouts happy, or could it just be scrapped, and could they start from the ground up again?
So what Republican leaders were hoping would happen was that this bill would come to the floor and that these senators who had concerns would offer amendments that would then get voted up or down and added to the bill or not, in order for it to become more palatable to those senators, and that hopefully they'd be able to pass it. Now that is not going to happen because there were too many Republicans who said, not only can I not support the bill, but I have such big problems, I don't think that they can be addressed with amendments, so I don't want to even hold a vote on those amendments or the bill or anything else. So now Republican leaders have to move to Plan B, which is to take this bill and make changes to the underlying bill. And the reason that that is something that they didn't want to have to do is because, first of all, now they have to try to figure out what can be changed. And even if they are able to come up with something in the next few days, then they need to go back and write the bill, and they need to have it reanalyzed by the Congressional Budget Office before they vote. And that is a process that could take several weeks, Anne-Marie. And as you know, the longer that this drags on, the more Republican senators who might come out and say, well, I now have a problem with what I see, and I'm getting this feedback from my governor or my constituents, and I want you to change X. And it just becomes sort of a, an octopus where Republican leaders are fixing one problem, but another one then pops up.
Right. Meanwhile, their constituents are waiting in the wings to find out what they're going to cough up. And we know earlier this year, when House Republicans were trying to hammer out their version of the bill and they went back home, some of these town hall meetings were pretty contentious. Senators are heading home as well. Are they expecting that they will be facing some tough questions from their constituents?
Yes, and they know that demonstrators who are against changes to the Affordable Care Act are going to be very vocal, as they have been in the past. In fact, we've already seen those demonstrators here on Capitol Hill in recent days. So senators know what's awaiting them back home. They've also been getting deluged with phone calls and emails from constituents. But there's a secondary concern, especially for senators from red states who know that their constituents have heard them promise for many years that they would be repealing Obamacare. So they're also afraid that they'll get an earful from Republican constituents if they don't succeed in making at least some pretty significant changes to the Affordable Care Act.
Well, it's a good thing they have 2 ears for 2 earfuls. Not the best comment, but Nancy Cordes. Nancy, thank you so much.
You're welcome.